Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. This is a special meeting of the Board of Directors of the EGPOA. The purpose is for the board to adopt an operating budget for 2024, which under our bylaws will then be sent to the members and then voted on at our by our community at our second annual meeting on November 19th, which is at 9 a.m. at the Entertainium. As we've worked on budget drafts, there are a few key items and a few key obligations that the board has been discussing and workshopping and debating. And I expect that this may be a relatively short meeting tonight. But you may hear board members talk about or refer to some of those issues tonight. And so one of those in particular, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a preview so it just doesn't come as some weird surprise out of there, because we haven't talked about it publicly before, is a situation involving a property at 90 North Emerald Green. Before I do that, I'm so sorry. I missed a spot that we need to call the roll. I'm sorry, getting rolling. But I'd ask the secretary to call the roll before I move on to that piece.
Patrick.
I'm here.
Alana.
Here.
Earl.
Here.
Dan.
Here.
Tom Gans. Leslie.
Yeah, here.
Joel. Joel, you're here. Stay here.
He's muted.
Okay. Beverly.
Here.
Alex. He's on his way, right?
There's the cat. The cat's here.
Zach.
Here.
All right. Peak professionalism.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. So as I was saying, one of the things that you may hear board members talk about tonight as we debate our budget draft is a home at 90 North Emerald Green Drive. A couple bought that property in September 2021, but they never paid any of their dues or their assessments, or I think even a transfer fee. And some of you may remember that this particular property buyer also tried to solicit some folks from our community for some sort of class action to break up the Emerald Green Property Owners Association as an HOA. But look, in any event, as is EGPOA's practice, the prior 2021 to 2022 board authorized the filing of a lien against that property for those unpaid dues and assessments, and a later action to foreclose on that lien. A court eventually granted a foreclosure order, and Emerald Green more recently became the owner of that property. There was an effort to try to settle with the prior homeowners. That didn't work out, and we were left really with no choice but to fully enforce all of your HOA's rights. The prior homeowners have appealed. They have also filed a separate federal lawsuit against EGPOA, basically alleging housing discrimination, which of course we vehemently and completely deny. But I wanted to put these facts out there so that people know what's going on in case you hear about 90 North Emerald Green in our discussions tonight and understand that. It's a matter of ongoing litigation, and I hope everyone will appreciate that we cannot comment any further or any more on that situation. And suffice it to say that the board has not made any decisions on what we're going to do with that property. So just wanted to give that background as we work into our budget discussions tonight. Chris, I see you have your hand up. I'll recognize Chris.
Patrick, I'd like to motion to approve the budget draft that you circulated on Friday to the entire board.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second. Second.
Okay. So a motion's been made and seconded to approve a draft operating budget. This is, board members, the budget that I circulated to you on the morning of Friday, October 20th. This version picked up from Dan's several prior drafts, including the 3 that he emailed to board members on October 12th, which then, of course, Alana worked on in close consultation with our property manager. Board members, my October 20th email tried to summarize some of the highlights, and those who were with us on our Sunday workshop over Zoom, we went through those as well. But just for the benefit of our community members, here are a few highlights of that budget draft. That budget draft proposes an increase of approximately 8.5% to members' annual dues. That would come out to $1,709 for homeowner members and $427 for lot owners. That budget is really a result of an increase in projected net expenses, which I think probably folks would have expected, and certainly we've previewed in our prior regular board meetings. Specifically, this budget projects, let me pull it up here, an increase in a net increase in our operating costs of about 12%, or $125,692. And some of our largest and key areas where this budget estimates increases are, first and foremost, insurance. We talked about this at our last regular board meeting. Michael and I have had conversations with our insurance broker, and based on that advice, we're figuring conservatively that we can expect another significant increase of our insurance premiums, which, look, after payroll and employment expenses, that's our highest cost. The second area of increase that this budget proposes is now that we have is around security, and now that we have the entertainium open completely, and we have the pool and the entertainium locations both operational, we really have to think about the right amount of staffing for our security personnel. And of course, as I've said before, the exact hours and the coverage, and certainly how that's all managed, that's a management decision. But we've heard certainly from the community that they want to see and they want to feel secure. And so on management's advice, this budget proposal proposes an increase in funds budgeted to pay for that security coverage. That's the personnel of the security. That's not physical security equipment. That's also a separate line item in the budget, as folks will see. But really, what the increase that we're talking about is those man hours. This budget's third sort of area of big increase, what makes up that 12% in increased expenses, is our salary pool. The budget proposes a modest 2.5% salary pool increase for our staff. We think that's very normal for a lot of situations, and certainly we value all of our staff, so we think that that's appropriate. The fourth area of increase or what contributes to the expense increase in this budget is funding a legal fund or legal reserve. It proposes a $10,000 allocation for the legal fund. That's a fund that is required under our bylaws. And as I mentioned, we're involved in a number of litigations. And so the amounts allocated to this legal fund would potentially be used to offset legal expenses, as well as, if it becomes necessary, the cost of maintaining and protecting that 90 North Emerald Green property that I mentioned earlier. And that's, that depends on what we ultimately do with that property, as I said earlier as well. So this budget also proposes to offset those increases in some of the operating expenses by trying to find some other areas where we could cut. And there's really two highlights. So first of all, based on discussions with our management and with the water company, This budget proposes to reapportion the salaries and the benefits of our shared staff, and they really are our shared staff members, in a way that I think more accurately reflects the work that the staff do for each of those companies. Sometimes folks may call the office and speak to one person, but they may speak to them on a water company issue, EGPOA issue, or they may call the office, the main office line, and say, listen, I've got a problem with my water main or whatever it is. It's just a fact that our staff are split between these two companies, and for decisions that certainly predate us, we have an understanding and an arrangement where we're splitting those salaries, and so the budget is really trying to apportion and reflect those allocations fairly, so that neither one is receiving more benefit than another necessarily. And so number two, the other area where we found some savings in our expenses is that earlier this year, this board committed, we're committed to providing our staff with affordable and high quality health care. We've always done that at EGPOA. We want to continue that tradition, but without going into specifics of any particular employee's benefits, this proposal that has been motioned and seconded, it reflects changes that the HR committee and the board approved earlier this year in our employee healthcare benefits. And that's resulting in net savings of about $11,000 overall to the association. So with that summary, I want to see whether any board members have any questions or wish to be heard on this budget proposal.
Before I go. Anybody?
Yeah, so if before we go around this will be a little tricky because we've got the room where Michael and Zach and Leslie and Dan and maybe Alex are. We also have the Zoom room. So if anybody wants to raise their hand on Zoom, or Michael, if you can help me direct traffic in the physical room, we'll try to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to be heard.
I think Dan had something.
Okay.
I think he was waiting to see if any other board members had anything before he went.
I can exercise some patience if somebody else wants to go.
It's all you.
It looks like it's all you.
So to the Emerald Green community, as the community treasurer, I oppose this budget for the following reasons. The board has not made serious decisions on reduced spending. This budget carries at minimum an additional $24,000 in spending. The board has put extreme hardship on an already struggling water company by adding an additional $30,000 worth of expenses. This burden on the water company brings the administrative payroll figures higher than the actual association itself, and is not budgeted for the water company, and the PSC has not approved. Finally, the earmarks funded for this property taken in a public foreclosure where we are not even the primary lien holder. The property is in full-fledged open litigation and the foreclosure is under appeal. All public records can even be obtained at the county clerk's office. Furthermore, the voluntary liability or payments for doing such would actually require our membership and homeowners to pay their dues, a mortgage that isn't theirs, taxes that isn't theirs, and if the association remains this steadfast in this approach, would be liable to expense the correction of the violations and expense the sale through actual real estate agents. All this expense, yet members will not be afforded the ability to use the property as common grounds. It is my opinion, the best decision to be made here would be to avoid the never-ending litigation and complete voluntary expense and allow the primary lien holder to execute their own foreclosure. Finally, I presented this board with appropriate budgets to fund the upcoming budget year. Being fully transparent, none were actually genuinely considered by members here to be presented to you. I will stand my ground against this budget, and I recommend each and every homeowner do the same and vote against it. As treasurer, I have done my fiduciary duties and prepared a budget with some relative savings that would bring your dues to a minimum of $16.99. And I've also prepared a more reasonable budget that would bring your increase to 5% or $16.57. The collective board did not afford me the ability to workshop these budgets with you. Regardless of the outcome, I will remain steadfast in my position and work to hold the highest integrity as it relates to your dues. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Earl?
I guess my only question would be, and this is probably to the wider board, anyone can weigh in as they see fit. So the alternative would be, do we not allow or hold someone accountable, i.e. one of our fellow homeowners, for paying their dues? So if they don't pay their dues, at what point does the board and or the management office have the right to exercise some type of legal action to try to recoup that monies? I pay every month. I know how much I have to pay every year, but if my neighbor next to me did not pay for 18 months or 24 months, I would feel slighted, whereas I'm paying the dues that that person isn't paying. So my impression was the only way, in the only manner that we had recourse as a community is to request, negotiate, attempt to settle in some form or fashion for that homeowner to make themselves whole, i.e. negotiated amount, may not be the full amount, but at least work with the Emerald Green management office to come up with some type of compromise. My first question, would be, I assume, and I know the answer to this, that there was attempts to try to negotiate some happy medium or some point of negotiation with the homeowner to get something from him if he or she did not feel that they should be paying the amount of monies that was owed in full.
Yeah, or there was. I really, we cannot go into specifics.
Okay. That was
I
the only
think-
question I wanted.
No,
That was the
no,
only
no,
question I
it's
wanted.
a fair question, and to the extent that's on community members' minds, there certainly was. Again, not going into specifics, I will just say that, and those were discussed by the entire board in an executive session with our council, and protected and privileged of those conversations are, I can say that we were left with no choice.
Okay, I think that was fair. I think the only other thing I'll say in capstone, though, I appreciate we all have different views as it relates to this budget. I looked at them both, so I respect Dan's position, but I would say to his knowledge, and I would ask him to rephrase that, to his knowledge, no one on the board, none of the other board members considered his budget seriously. That's not factual, because I looked at it intensely, and then also had conversations with Chris around the new board, the new budget. So I took both of them in consideration. I try to make sure I only speak when it's of value, not just for the sake of speaking. That's it. I needed that question, and I wanted to get some clarification and ensure that there was some clarity as it relates to Dan's position.
Thanks, Phil.
As Earl's response had directly discussed my comments, I would feel.
Go ahead, you're recognized.
So as far as the process, yes, Earl, you're correct. There is a process. You execute a lien on the property. And in some cases, and I will not divulge if it's this instance or not, where the rider of the mortgage is a second or first mortgage, you would then have the ability to execute an additional lien on other properties as well. In an instance like this, you could have put multiple liens on a property. We put a lien on the initial property, and then we executed judgment. The concern or the issue that I have is the judgment resulted in an eviction, and now we're discussing compensation to maintain the property, of which members and homeowners here would be obligated to pay voluntarily, because those monies that we would pay would be 100% non-reimbursed, the mortgage, the taxes, and any property maintenance. And as the sellers, because we would be commissioned to sell the property. Under Emerald Green's bylaws, we would be required to bring the home up to property code before we sell it. So whatever violations that we incurred on the property, I would assume we would have to expense to fix those. So to me, it's a never-ending cycle of litigation and expense that we could then push on to the homeowners for the next 2, 3, 4 years. And in the end, you may not keep the home. There's nothing that says that Emerald Green is going to stay the homeowner on appeal. As far as the question about the budgets go, I did present multiple budgets, and I was not afforded the ability to workshop them. And that's my discussion and talking points. The only budget that was workshopped with the community is right now, being not the treasurer's budget, but in fact, what has been described to me as Alana, Chris, and Joel's budget. And correct me if I'm wrong. Those are the three involved with this budget.
I have my hands up, and this is going back to what.
Wait, hang on a second, Leslie. I just want to make sure that with respect to Dan's comments, that any notions about what may need to be done with the property in the future, any notions about speculation about what may or may not happen on appeal, we need to make sure that that's it's understood that's Dan's viewpoint and Dan's viewpoint only. That is not the position of EGPOA or the board. Again, this meeting is being recorded. I want to make sure that we're clear and careful in our individual thoughts versus an official position of the board. Leslie, go ahead.
Yeah, going back to what said, yes, we expect the homeowners to all pay their fair share, you know, pay their dues, pay their whatever fine if they anything that they incur. However, there are other homeowners that are on the that owes an obscene amount of money, you know, from $94,000 to $160,000 in liens and fines and maybe dues and all of that. Since some of them are there since 2005.
Leslie, I'm sorry, I have to cut you off. Leslie, I have to cut you off right now. I think the comments you're making.
Any names or anything.
Hang on,
I'm saying
the
there
comments
are
you're making,
homeowners
the comments you're
that
making and made in our
owe
workshop
a lot
on
of money,
Sunday,
and we didn't go
they're
off
not
agreement to take
appropriate
it
for
from
this
their
forum,
home.
Leslie. They're just not. They've also been dealt with by legal advice of our counsel. It is not appropriate to go down this road that you're going down. I want to caution members. We need to make sure that our comments are related strictly to this budget only. We're not here to debate the 90 North Emerald Green situation, nor should we be doing that in a public meeting when we've got ongoing litigation. It is absolutely inappropriate to make comments about any other homeowner situation, any other property situation as it relates to this property. We cannot do that. Leslie,
Okay.
let's move.
I think I get your point on Leslie's perspective, Patrick, and I'll agree, right? We don't want to open that channel. But I think what Leslie should relate that position to is the precedent sent forth. If this is the instance where we start doing this, our future budgets become unsustainable with the amount of foreclosures, because if we continue down this road of foreclosing on properties and then paying the homeowner's debt associated with it because there's a primary lien holder, we then have a budget that is completely unsustainable for our membership. And that is ultimately my concern with all of this. We cannot afford to maintain and pay upwards of 15 homes and properties in this association because the board sees fit to foreclose and pay their debts rather than place a lien on the property as our deed restrictions state. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Does any other member of the board wish to be heard on the budget? Okay, seeing none. All right, we'll call for a vote on the proposed budget, and I think under the circumstances, we should go for a roll call vote. Chris?
Can I hold for just 1 second? Earl had to step away. I can call him last.
Yeah.
I think he's coming back. All right. I'll call the roll on this. Patrick,
Aye. Yes.
Alana,
Yes.
Dan.
Resoundingly no.
I vote yes.
Yes, Earl.
Thank you, Earl. Tom Gans. Not here. Okay. Leslie,
Absolutely not.
Joel.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Beverly,
I'm gonna vote no.
Alex. Did Alex come in?
No.
Zach.
Yes.
Thank you. That leaves us with 9 members present, 7 in favor and 2 opposed. Excuse me,
Three.
six in
Three.
favor and 3 opposed. I'm sorry.
Okay, with that, the motion carries. Want to thank everybody for coming out to see the passage of the operating budget. Again, so this will go out to community members with a letter or note, as we did last time, and a ballot. Unfortunately, we still haven't gotten the electronic voting situation sorted out. So for the second annual meeting on the 19th,
Yeah, I mean, we just got.
sorry guys, there we go. So again, this will go out to members by mail, and we'll have the second annual meeting on the 19th of November at 9 a.m., which also coincides with our next regular meeting. So the board's regular meeting will follow that, and we'll take up all other issues and questions that folks have at that time.
Motion. I have a motion to adopt and exercise the transfer and construction payments to our debt as required by our annual assessment of $34,000 from our transfer and construction to pay down our $3 million debt. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Point of order. In the
Yeah.
bylaws, the special meeting can only address the topics laid out in the agenda for the meeting.
It's pertaining to the budget, so $34,000 pertains to the budget.
Can I be recognized?
What is it?
Huh?
Explain
Wait.
Our annual assessment provided up to $40,000 of transfer construction fees to pay down the loan early for our homeowners to reduce the amount of payments on their assessments.
Yeah.
That was an open campaign promise, so right now I'm asking us to make good on our promise, right?
Dan, hang on.
I would
Chris-
wait. I
Chris
would
was
wait to the end of the year.
Joel,
Why don't
wait,
we wait?
Joel, hang on. Chris is recognized, and then
I make a motion to table.
I'll second.
So, I think we should have.
Hang on, the motion to table is not debatable, so we have to go around the room and vote on the motion to table. So, Chris, we should probably do this by roll call.
Patrick,
Yes,
Earl, bud, you still there with us?
he's on a phone call, so we'll get to him.
Okay, I'll text him real quick. Let's see. Alana,
Table.
yep, you vote yes.
Yes.
Dan,
No.
I vote yes.
Earl's yes. I'm sorry, you all. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss my flight. I apologize.
No worries, thank you. All right, Tom Gans is not here. Sorry, I'm just trying to do this right. Leslie,
No, I want to talk about it.
Joel,
I vote table.
you vote yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Beverly,
Yeah.
you vote yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Al Sherman.
Zach?
Yes.
Al, can I call you right back?
All right,
And I would just like the minutes to reflect, the motion was raised and the members that, voted to table the motion for our homeowners. Thank you.
it's a roll call vote. It'll be recorded in the minutes. Thank you. Motion to table passes.
Okay. So with that, as I was saying, we'll see everybody on the 19th of November. And thank you guys for your time. We'll talk to y'all then. We are adjourned.